1990 Buick Skylark. Customer complaint is they'll drive it all day long, and as they continue to drive it, the complaint is low power throughout the day to the point where it pretty much doesn't run. And they actually had it towed here. That's how bad it runs after it gets hot. We get you a shot of the scan tool. We'll go after trouble codes first. So going to my code list. So current codes. We have a second gear switch and a quad driver module failure. Purpose of this video is definitely not going to be talking about quad driver modules. History codes. All right, this code 44, this lean exhaust, this is where we're going with this video. When I started this car and pulled it in, it was puffing black smoke out of the tailpipe. So that's the one we're attacking first, is this black smoke that we see in this lean exhaust code. A quick note on this quad driver module for those of you guys that want more info on this. This is nothing more than an output state monitor, which I cover in great detail in section 3 of my material. I'm not doing that for this video. Purpose of this video, we're going to address this lean exhaust trouble code we have, and we're going to tie this into determining whether or not we have an actual lean condition or if we have a dead O2 or if the O2 is lying, is what I say in my book. So going to our scan data next. I've already configured this data list. Should hold it on this new update for the Verus. Kind of like that. We configure a data list. It remembers what we did last time we were there and pulls it back up. I like that feature. So we're focused on this, guys, right now. We're looking at my O2, which is this guy right here. Got some glare on the screen. I apologize for that. Looking at our O2, don't be misled by the up down of that signal. It looks like the signal could actually be good. It is absolutely not. The highest we're seeing is 238 millivolts, and the lowest we're seeing is 4, as you see right there. This is lean the whole time. We see the computer reacting that way. Block learn is at 149. Integrator, that just changed. It was at 200 something, wasn't it, just a second ago? We were at 219, then it dropped to 128. Guys, what you'll see, I didn't think I was going to get a chance to show that. Let me pause that for 1 second. What you see at that moment, when we went from closed loop to open, this is a forced open loop condition because we had maxed out fuel trim numbers. These are weird for those of you that aren't familiar with binary fuel trim numbers. That's what you're looking at. 128 is equal to 0%. Numbers above 128 is adding fuel. Numbers below 128 is taking fuel away. For more information on this, sections 4 and 5, you can go through that material, and I cover this in great detail. But here's what we're looking at. A maxed out rich command on the integrator. A maxed out rich command on the block learn. Where's my block learn at? I think I'm burying it right now. There it is, right there. 149 on the block learn, 219 on the short term. Let me say that again. Block learn's long term, integrator short term. So I even get these terms mixed up myself. Block learn, my long term is maxed out at 149. Integrator short term is maxed out at 219. Why? Because the O2 was lean the whole time. What happened at this point when we went from closed loop to open? The computer said, hey, you're not listening to me, so I'm going into open loop again. Now here's what we have to do as technicians. We have to ask ourselves, is this O2 sensor lying to the computer, giving a false lean condition, or do we actually have a lean condition? Now, one of the things we can do, you see that O2 is a little bit more active now. One of the things we can do is just use our senses. If I bring this camera back to the tailpipe and show you on a rev, in fact, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna let you see the black smoke that's pouring out of this thing. And it would probably be helpful to get this to go, okay, good. It went back to closed, that's good. We can see integrator climbing. I was gonna say, I wanna show you this event while we're maxing out our trim number so we can see it. Guys, the black smoke's telling us that this O2 is lying to us. There's no reason to add propane to the intake. There's no reason to compare tailpipe CO. I promise you they're very high. But maybe in light of my last video upload, it would be helpful to see those numbers. So I'll do that too. Let me show you the black smoke, and then I'll show you the gas analyzer, and then we'll talk about the rest of the issues with this car. Black smoke next. All right, so I don't know how well this is going to pick up, and we have a safety concern here with carbon monoxide. So I'm not gonna do this long, but I want you to see it. Snap that throttle for me. Hold on. Yeah. Do it again. You can't. Start it back up. Snap it. We see the complaint. There's that smoke. You know what? One more time. Don't snap it to the point where you're choking it out. Give it.
Give it a guess.
What?
I'll give it a guess.
Start it back up again. All right, that'll work. See if I can pick up that sound. This is going to be, I didn't anticipate showing you guys this right now. This is our secondary problem. If we can keep it running. Nope. It won't stay running now?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so hopefully you saw the black smoke out of the tailpipe. What I wasn't anticipating is talking about this secondary problem, and that is we believe the catalytic converter is completely plugged up. And that would match our symptoms of them driving this car and it's slowly deteriorating in power to the point where they can't drive it. We can't keep the thing running now. I'm not sure how much of the rest of the test I'll be able to show. I'm hoping I'll be able to. The secondary part, again, plugged up cat. What I'm hoping to show on the camera for this part would be the sound of the exhaust. It has a hissing sound to it, which is classic plugged cat sound. See if you can start that, and I'll try to rev it out here. I can't even keep it running at this point. Go ahead. All right, that's pretty cool. I was at least able to show that part. The only downside of where we are now is I'm not going to be able to show you the tailpipe COs because I need to keep it running to show you that. Let me think about direction here. The black smoke is enough to tell us this engine's running seriously rich, that it's not a lean condition, and we have a dead O2. So what I can show you is the O2 wiring test that's very quick and very accurate, and it's a simple unplug it test. Let me get you focused on the scan tool. Well, we're already at 468, so this test isn't going to be fruitful either because I need the car running. Wish I could keep this thing running. See if it'll start again. I'm hoping we can keep it idle. You should have been able to reach in and do that. I'll have to get inside of it. I'm hoping I can show it. The car's barely running. Look at the O2. It's fixed lean right here, right? Darn it. Damn it. I'm not going to be able to show that part either. All right. I'm just going to have to talk about it. When we're looking at this data down here, at this point right here where we're fixed lean, if you understand bias voltage of an O2, all you need to do is unplug it when you have a fixed lean O2. Once you've confirmed that that O2 is dead and that it's not an actual lean, that it's an O2 problem, at that point, what you can do to quickly identify that it's not a short to ground in the wiring is unplug the sensor and look for that bias line voltage of around 450 millivolts on a GM 450. If you see that, the circuitry is good. And it's as simple as looking at that line. While you come down to the O2 connector, unplug it. Back to the scan tool with that line unplugged. and we're reading this 468 millivolts. There's another way that you can identify circuit integrity. If you get this car in, I have a video on this one where it's fixed at 468. What we're going to do in this case, I'll let you see it on the scan tool first and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just going to ground the signal wire. At the sensor side of the connector. And I might need this car running for this scan tool to react to me. That's what it's looking like. That sucks. All right. Lesson within a lesson here is some data PIDs will not update unless you have an RPM signal. Reach in and start that for me real quick. Should be able to grab that. Sensors unplugged right now. That's exactly what's going on. We need an RPM signal. Start that back up again. With it running, start it back up again. Ground the signal out. That works. What I just did right here, this number, this 468, that's a default number with the car off. This is the car running with the sensor unplugged, 400 millivolts. At this point right here is where I grounded the circuit. What's that tell you about the circuit from the computer to the sensor? If you can pull it down to 0 at that point, that circuit's fine. Again, just showing you other ways to check integrity of the wiring. Once you confirm an O2 is dead and lying, there is always wiring concerns. These are ways that we can identify that. Another variable, this is the hard part about shooting live sometimes. Another variable, I talk about this in other videos, in other material. Some data parameters need to have an RPM signal to update. Why would the computer update the O2 sensor with the car not running? There would be no reason for it to do that. On some cars it will, but others it won't. This is another variable when you're doing circuit integrity testing. This would be section 10, I believe, in my book. We talk about signal circuit integrity. It is something I mentioned. Some data PIDs will not update unless there's an RPM signal. To show you what I was doing, I'll put a link in for my other video where I use this test. Just taking a test light, not looking for the light to light. Test light's connected to ground, just touching on the signal wire harness side. All right, so how do we feel about the signal wire for the O2?
It's good.
We're happy with it. How do we feel about the sensor lying, causing a false lean, that code 44, and what's happening is our rich exhaust, that black smoke, is because of this dead O2. Now we have another problem. This car won't run anymore. We mentioned the exhaust. We're pretty confident. Cat's plugged up. We're going to put a back pressure gauge on this, and I'm going to show you the exhaust back pressure. Now, one more thing, in case I didn't mention it, if this car was able to continue to run, we could, if we didn't have black smoke, we could put a probe in the tailpipe and look at our tailpipe CO. And I promise you the CO percentage on this car would be well over 10%, which is a huge number. Confirming our lean O2 signal that we had earlier in all of this. I don't think I have the data down in here with the car running where it was lean. If you see a lean O2 with very high tailpipe CO, it's another way to confirm our O2 is lying. In my last video upload, we had a fixed rich O2 that was lying to the computer. Computer was taking all the fuel away. This one's opposite. It's a fixed lean O2. The computer's adding a bunch of fuel that it shouldn't be, causing an overly rich condition. Multiple ways we can handle that. We can add propane to the intake, see if it responds, compare tailpipe CO again, and then in our case we had black smoke, so really none of that was necessary. On to the plugged exhaust now. So we have the O2 removed now, and for those of you that do not have a back pressure tool, what we can do is just see how the car runs with the O2 removed. Remember, this thing did not idle 5 minutes ago at all. Start it up, see how it runs. It'll be loud. Hang on, my drop light is in the serpentine belt. Okay, start it back up. Go ahead, start it back up. Now, that shouldn't be shutting off. I'm concerned here still a little bit. Start that back up again. Got like flames coming out of here.
Yeah.
All right. It seems to start better, rev better. I'm not sure. I don't like that. So in this case, the gauge is necessary. Let's put the gauge on it now. And this is a real simple tool. You can actually make one of these out of an old O2. If you take an old oxygen sensor and you take, that's not what this is actually part of the tool, but you can take an old O2 sensor and cut off the porcelain and hog it out and then just rig up your hoses to it and use a just an old $10 vacuum pressure gauge. You can make one of these tools for like 10 bucks. Okay, and so what I want to see, maximum allowable exhaust back pressure, honestly on a crank or idle would be 0. We don't really want any. The number that I've been using for years is no more than 2. That'd be that line right there. No more than 2 PSI at 3,000 RPM. Now we can't even hold this car at 3 grand. What this thing does, cranking and idle will tell us everything. Go ahead and start it. That's just at idle. Did you see we were 6, 7, 8 PSI? Is that number is what? That's 6. Start it back up again. Watch it. Was that, you didn't touch the throttle, did you? Okay, let me reposition this where I can manipulate the throttle. Let's see how high this gets. And that should be good right there. Go ahead, start it. See if I can keep running. That buried it. There's 8 PSI here. You see the needle was way over here. Start it back up again. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen one that plugged that actually still runs. So that explains why pulling the O2 out, it wasn't much better. It's really that restricted. I have used this in the past, and it's a good tip, guys, is if the car's a complete no start, doesn't even try to start, you pull the O2 out and it does start, it's giving it enough breathing room to start. It does work, but you can see how misleading it is for a car that kind of doesn't rev up. It didn't really rev up with that O2 removed, so you still need to do a gauge, put a gauge on there sometimes. This cat is completely plugged up. Why? What killed the cat, guys? A dead oxygen sensor lying to the computer that the car was running lean, computer's dumping fuel at the car needlessly. This would be a false lean, right? Dead O2. Over fueling killed this cat, melted it down. When I was underneath this car, the muffler's new. I didn't look underneath to see what else is new. I'm not sure what they did and when, but I'm telling you for sure that this cat is melted down, no question about it. Last thing we need to be concerned with, and I've had this happen to me, did a job like this, was a welded exhaust system. We ended up sending it down the road to have an exhaust put on it, this garage I worked for. And they miscommunicated what needed to be done. I said, do the cat back, all of it. And all they did was put a cat in it. Long story short, the car came back with still a plugged exhaust. There was a piece of the old cat in the muffler. So this is something we always want to communicate with our customers when we have melted cats, is the potential for pieces of that cat to be lodged downstream. The way you'd sell the job, remove the cat, take a look at it, see how much is left on the back side, see if it's intact. If it isn't, there could be pieces downstream. So just final note on this. Plugged cat, bad O2, does some crazy stuff in O2, right? So good video again for is the sensor lying? In this case it was. I apologize, I was not able to show you the tailpipe CO like I wanted to, but I think it was good enough.